Hello and welcome to this Illustrator Basics tutorial. Today we're going to be going over exporting. So go ahead and open up that 17exporting.ai file located in the course files that you downloaded. If you have not downloaded them yet, you can find a link to them in the description. Now, a common problem or a common complaint I've seen from people is that when they export a picture or a file, the quality is really low compared to what they see within Illustrator. So there's likely one reason for that. So you go to Effect, Document Raster, Effects Settings. You'll see here I have the resolution set to high, 300 ppi. Now sometimes it gets set to screen 72 or medium 150, and that's what will give you those lower quality exports. If for some reason you're not having a transparent background, make sure you check here and ensure that it's set to transparent and not white. Because if you have white selected and you don't have anything in a particular area of the background, it'll just come out as white. Alright, first I'm going to show you how we export things as PDFs. You'll commonly use a PDF when you're sending things off to like a printer or a merchandising company, or when you're just sending it off for someone to take a look at. If you've got graphics that you want them to look at, you may send them off as a PDF because it's a generally small file size and you can send them through email back and forth several times without the file getting too big or having to upload it to a drive like Google Drive. So go up here to File and just go down to Save As. And when the Save As menu comes up, go ahead and click the Class Files button so that we're in the Class Files folder. Lower the drop down, you'll see right here the option to save as an Adobe PDF is here. So go ahead and click that. I'm going to name it as Exporting PDF 1 and click Save. And you'll get this dialog box that opens up. And we have one option here that we're typically going to uncheck. I would go ahead and uncheck this Preserve Illustrator Editing capabilities. I'm going to leave it checked for this so I can show you the difference. Very little difference in the actual file, but the difference comes in the file size. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save PDF, File, Save As, Exporting PDF 2, save it as an Adobe PDF, Save, and I'm going to unclick that and save the PDF. And you'll get this warning. I'm going to click OK. And if you look here, you can see that the file size between the PDF 2 and PDF 1 is huge. You can get this tiny little file for only 45 kilobytes or for 316 kilobytes if you preserve that ability to edit it in Adobe Illustrator. Since you have the actual Adobe Illustrator file here, you're unlikely to need a PDF that you can edit. So just go ahead and save them without the ability to edit them in Adobe Illustrator. So if you're exporting these as a JPEG or PNG or SVG file, just go to File, Export, Export As, and then down here in the Dropbox you can change it from PNG, JPEG, SVG, TIFF if you need it. So let's go ahead and select that PNG. And we'll just be exporting PNG. And we will click Export. And here you can see what the export will look like as a small preview of it. Got that transparency background. Up here you can set the resolution. Again, you may have to change it to high if you want to keep it with a high quality. And hit OK. And again, you can use that exact method to render out JPEGs, PNGs, or SVG files. Alternatively, you can export multiple versions of this file. If you go to File, Export, Export for Screens, and you'll get this dialog box that opens up. Down here we have one version of this artboard set, scale of 1, and it's set for a PNG, so we're just going to click Add Scale. We're going to change the scale back to 1, but we're going to export a JPEG, and you can change the suffix on this if you wanted to. So that, you know, if say I wanted several JPEG, there's several PNGs, but with one scaled in. So this PNG will have a suffix of at 2 times. If I'm rendering out versions of a graphic that all are under like one heading, say it's for like scene 1 of a video I'm working on, I can go down here and add a prefix. It says scene 1, and then It'll have the name up here of the artboard that I name it, so I can name this as icons. So now all of these will render out with the prefix scene 1, icons, and then the normal PNG won't have any suffix. The JPEG 100 will have a 100 suffix, and the PNG that's scaled up 2 times will have an @2 times suffix. We make sure we have the folder here. This is going to our class files folder. If we wanted to drop it into his own subfolder, we can click right here with create subfolder. And then to export, we just click export artboard. Here you can see that we have the exporting PNG that we did earlier, scene 1 icons, scene 1 icons @2 times, and scene 1 icons 100 JPEG. Now there's one more way you can export things. So we have a bunch of icons here. What if you wanted to export just these icons individually? Well, you go to Window, and then you go down to Asset Export. And this brings up this panel. And you can add whatever you want to export to it by just clicking, I want to have the selection tool, clicking and dragging it over to the Assets panel, and it drops it in there. You can change the name of the asset by double clicking there and typing in what you want, cloud. And then down here, it'll show you how many versions of these assets it's going to make. So if I want a JPEG or a PDF of that one, and then I also want a JPEG of it. That way I have all my bases covered, and it'll add in the suffixes there. I want to have a suffix of PDF behind the PDF one, that way I can just see it in the name. And then to export, you would just click export. But we can do more than just this one asset. We could do all of these assets. So let's highlight that one, and we will drag it over. So let's highlight the crown, and we'll drag it over and drop it in place. And you see our crown was in there as well. And it'll export 3 versions that we've set up down here. So let's go ahead and rename that to crown. Okay, next we will get the yin yang we have here, and we'll click and drag it over here. Oh, what happened here? We have 2 different parts of the yin yang showing up as different things. Well, they're not grouped together. So when we go to put them in the asset exporter, Illustrator thinks we want them to export individually. So to make sure we get them to export properly, we're going to hit Ctrl+2 to group them together, and then bring them in yin yang. And so we make sure those are grouped, Ctrl+2 and Ctrl+2. So now that we know that the asset exporter will automatically group together things that are grouped and separate the things that aren't grouped, we can go ahead and highlight both of these icons and bring them over into the asset exporter at once. We'll type mask, camera. When we're ready to export, we'll click this first one, go down to our last icon, hold down Shift, and click it so it highlights all of them. Then we'll just go down to export. It'll pop up this dialog window with the save stuff. Inside our class files folder, I made an icons folder, so I'm going to save them all within there. And now it's going to export each one individually. In here, you can see we have our camera PNG, camera JPEG, camera PDF, and the same one for each one of those icons, all quickly exported through the asset export. If you're using a lot of your graphics in videos that you're making, you should be exporting them as just straight Illustrator files. You can import Illustrator files into Premiere and After Effects. And if you do that, your images and graphics are going to retain more clarity, more crispness, and you're not going to lose any detail because it's going to be stored in that vector format. So you can save versions of your file by going to File, Save, or Save As, or even save a copy. Well, that's all I have for today. If you found this tutorial helpful, drop us a like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.